Pahalgam, a name that evokes serenity, spirituality, and the soul of Kashmir. But on 22nd of April, this calm was pierced by bullets. What happened here wasn't just an act of violence, it was a message. Baisaran Valley, often referred to as the mini Switzerland of India, is a haven for tourists seeking comfort amidst nature's beauty. But on that fateful day, this paradise was turned into a battlefield. At approximately 2:50 p.m., a group of tourists were ambushed by armed militants. The attackers indiscriminately opened fire, killing 26 individuals and injuring over 20 others. But before pulling the trigger, the attackers asked each victim to recite their Shahada, also called the Kalima. Those who failed were executed. One professor survived not because of his faith, but because he had memorized the Shahada and was able to recite it. The attack was claimed by the Resistance Front, a proxy of the Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba. This group has been responsible for several attacks in the region, aiming to disrupt peace and incite communal tensions and to fulfill a prophecy made by Muhammad. I have been to Kashmir twice in the last few years, and more than the mesmerizing sights, I was overpowered by the lovely nature of the people there. What would have happened had I been subjected to the terror attack when I was there? I would have probably escaped just because I knew the Kalima. And that is the reason why I am doing this video today. It is a tuition class for all of you to learn the Kalima and then go visit Kashmir so that you too can enjoy the heaven on earth and come back alive. I will also touch upon why Islamic militants target the Kafirs and lie in wait to kill them off. And it is not just about creating a Hindu-Muslim rift. It is much deadlier than that. Ever heard of Ghazwa-e-Hind? If you haven't, then this video is for you. Let's begin. First, let us learn the Kalima and learn it by heart. After all, life comes first, doesn't it? It is just one line, but for millions, it defines their identity, their community. But today, it has become the thin line between your life or death. It is called the Shahada, Islam's declaration of faith. It is one of the 5 pillars of Islam and a part of the Adhan, which I have discussed in detail in this video. Let us critically examine the Shahada, its origins, its role in Islamic doctrine, and how it often becomes a symbol of conformity, division, and fear, especially for those who don't follow it or those who try to leave their religion. The Shahada states, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. The above two statements are commonly prefaced by the phrase Ashhadu an. So the complete version now becomes Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of God. It is the first and most important pillar of Islam. To become a Muslim, you must recite it sincerely. But let's be honest, for many born into Islam, sincerity isn't a choice. It is a requirement, a test, a trap. You are expected to accept this line without question from childhood, under pressure from family, society, and sometimes even the law. To be honest, this is bearing a false witness, because for no one can bear witness in the first place that there is only one God, and that God is Allah. So far, no one has been able to prove that something called as a God exists. Forget a specific one. Next is testifying that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. If you read the Quran, you can see that Allah is the puppet of Muhammad, and there is no evidence from outside the book that Muhammad received divine revelations. In fact, you can easily see that all the so-called ayahs in Quran have been made up by Muhammad himself, with some copied from the Torah and the Bible, so that Muhammad can do what he wanted and get what he wished for. So to enter Islam, you need to bear 2 false testimonies. And the pattern continues until death. So what is the history of the Kalima? The full Shahada as it exists is not found word for word in the Quran. It was shaped by Islamic scholars and hadith collectors over time. That alone should raise questions. Why did something so central to the religion need post-Quranic reinforcement? Because it wasn't just theology, it is politics. The Shahada helped solidify loyalty, not just to a god, but to Muhammad's leadership and later the Islamic State. It wasn't about personal enlightenment, it was about obedience. Muslims are taught to recite the Shahada from the day they are born. It is whispered into newborns' ears, repeated 5 times daily, reinforced in every prayer. For many ex-Muslims, the Shahada represents not devotion, but the loss of choice, a reminder that you were never allowed to question, only repeat. It is called mental conditioning, like preparing a lamb for slaughter. So why did the Islamic terrorists ask the tourists to recite the Kalima? Obviously, to find out if they are Muslims or Kafirs. I mean Hindus, non-Muslims. Where they were in doubt, they asked the maids to strip down their pants. Obviously, it was not to see if there is electricity in the house or to see if the Rajdhani Express had left the station. It was to see if they were circumcised. So what is with Islam and non-believers? Only around 25% of the world population follows this religion. The rest of the majority, 75%, either follow some other religion or are non-religious. So why this corollary for the kuffars? Simple, because there are plenty of verses in the Quran which tells its followers to kill the people who don't follow it. Let us look at Surah Al-Tawbah, chapter 9, verse 5, also known as the sword verse, which commands Muslims to kill the polytheists, that is, those who worship multiple gods, after the sacred months have passed. If you continue to read the same chapter and come to verse 23, it says, fight those who do not believe in Allah and the last day. Same chapter, verse 123. And when believers are told to be firm, so that disbelievers find new firmness. What is that? It is not coexistence. It is intimidation. It is instilling of fear. Quran 8:39, a verse from Surah Al-Anfal, instructs Muslims to fight until there is no fitna and until the religion, all of it, belongs to Allah. Quran 8:12 states that Allah will instill terror in the hearts of disbelievers, and while He is doing that, they should strike the disbelievers' necks and fingertips. I could go on, and there are hundreds of similar verses in the Quran in which it talks about hurting a fellow human being who does not follow Islam. Religious fanaticism with scriptural backing is a deadly combination. Let us not pretend the Shahada is no longer just a spiritual utterance. It has been weaponized. Extremist groups have printed it on their flags. It has become a litmus test for loyalty and a death sentence for those who don't comply. A line that was supposed to affirm belief is now a test of who deserves to live or die. It is no longer a declaration of faith. It is a religious password, one that can spare you or condemn you. They say the Shahada unites Muslims, but which Muslims? Sunnis, Shias, Mujahids, Ahmadis, all of whom recite the same words. Apostates, people like Arif Hussain, E.A. Jabbar, ex-Muslim Sahil, Haris Sultan are threatened, shunned, sometimes hunted, all for questioning this sacred line. It is not unity, it is tribal loyalty enforced by fear. And the punishment for crossing that line? Social death or literal death. It is not about love or God, it is about control. The moment you stop saying it, you lose your family, your home, your identity. In some countries, you risk jail or execution. So no, the Shahada is not just spiritual poetry, it is a tool for enforcement. So why were the Kafirs or Hindus hunted down in Pahalgam? Is it to break down the peace that has been prevailing in Jammu and Kashmir for some years now? Or is it to destroy the tourism on which Kashmir is heavily dependent? Is it just to create a rift between Hindus and Muslims by terror groups in Pakistan? Well, the answer is a yes to all these questions. I think the major reason is a doctrine called Ghazwa-e-Hind. Ghazwa-e-Hind refers to an apocalyptic prophecy found in the Hadiths, envisioning a final battle in the Indian subcontinent leading to the establishment of Islamic rule. It was Muhammad himself who prophesied that people who attack India and capture it would be saved from the hellfire. While not universally accepted among Islamic scholars, some extremist groups have adopted this narrative to justify their militant activities against India. Extremist groups like Jaish-e-Mohammed and Ansar Ghazwa-ul-Hind have adopted this narrative to justify their actions. JEM, for instance, has cited Ghazwa-e-Hind as a motivation for attacks, including the 2001 Indian Parliament attack and the 2019 Pulwama bombing. Ansar Ghazwat-ul-Hind, an Al-Qaeda affiliated Islamist jihadist militant group active in Kashmir, explicitly references this concept in its name. The group's stated objective is to establish Kashmir as an independent Islamic state under the Sharia law and to wage jihad against Indian administration in Jammu and Kashmir. While no group has explicitly linked the Pahalgam attack to Ghazwa-e-Hind, the modus operandi, targeting Hindu tourists, aligns with the objectives of groups backing this ideology. The patterns of targeted violence and the involvement of groups backing this narrative suggest a possible connection. So let me sum up this video now. Islam as an ideology and a political tool is a very harmful product. Unfortunately, there is a growing trend amongst the left liberals and wokes who tend to downplay the Islamic terror activities, citing that the minds of Muslims would get hurt if you talk against them. But this is like giving support to the harmful activities. This time around, I was pleased to see the Kashmiris themselves coming out on the street condemning the attacks, something that I didn't see from any other parts of the country. That is a welcoming sign. I also did not see the usual political hot air being blown around citing Hindu-Muslim divide. All political parties stood together to condemn the attack. By the way, there are many people who may feel that it is time to wage a war against Pakistan. Wars are not a solution. I'm sure most human beings have realized this. Wars only leave a trail of destruction and pain. No wound has ever healed because of a war. Beyond its political ramifications, the human cost is immeasurable. Families lose loved ones and the community grapples with the trauma inflicted by a senseless act of violence. The Pahalgam massacre is a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the devastating impact of Islamic terrorism. As a nation, we must stand united against such acts, ensuring that the memories of the victims are honored through a collective resolve to uphold peace and justice in the world. This attack must not fade from memory. We must ask hard questions, strengthen our intelligence, secure our borders, and most importantly, stop feeding hate. India's strength lies in unity, not uniformity. Terrorists win only when we turn against each other. I hope sense prevails in this country and we rise back from the aftermath of this brutal attack. Let us stop pretending. Terrorism doesn't come from thin air. It has roots, it has an ideology, and yes, terrorism has a religion. Not all believers are terrorists, but this terror was carried out in the name of a belief system that demands honest scrutiny. When bullets are fired after asking someone's faith, it is no longer just violence, it is religious cleansing. We must call it what it is. If we don't stand united now, beyond vote banks, beyond slogans, beyond cowardice, then when another valley bleeds, we will all share the guilt of silence. Let us stand together, not just against terror, but against the religious fanaticism that fuels it. This wasn't just an attack on tourists. It was a warning shot at the soul of India. The question is, will we wake up or wait for the next bullet to find us? Let us be honest. A faith that needs to threaten you to stay in it, or kill you if you leave is not a path of truth. If belief is truly a choice, no line or lines in a book should decide your worth as a human being, not in life, not in death. It is time we stopped glorifying religions and started valuing conscience, reason, and freedom of thought.